Alright, this is part 5 with Chad. Just getting the probation officer.
Parole.
Parole? Oh yeah, parole. Now he's doing prison time. No more county time.
Oh, so when the eye opener for me before this happened. So parole comes to see me at Wasco to let me know I'm getting out, right? And in Alabama, when you go to prison, you can parole, and if you parole, you're on paper, right? But you have the option in the state of Alabama to deny yourself parole and just max out your sentence.
Do your time.
So that way you get sentenced to 2 years. You can choose to do all 2 years in prison, right? And then you get released with no tail.
Yeah.
So the parole comes to see me at Wasco.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
You see a package with it?
There might be one downstairs out in front of the garage. There was one down there the other day, but I brought it up.
Okay. All right, thank you. I'll come up through the garage, okay?
Okay.
No worries.
So parole comes to see me, and they're telling me I'm getting out on parole, and then I'm gonna be. I said, well, how long am I on parole? And they say you're gonna be on parole for 3 years. And I'm like, this does not make any sense to me. I had a 2-year sentence.
Yeah, how you gonna stay?
I did my time, and now you're going to give me more time on parole than I actually had in my sentence. I said, no, thank you, I'm good. And the lady said, what do you mean? I said, I'll just max out my sentence here. She said, well, you can stay in prison as long as you would like, Mr. Chapman. But in the state of California, when you get released, you will be on parole.
Yeah.
Whether you leave, when we parole you, or you choose to catch violations and extend your stay, whenever you get out, you're going to be on parole. So that was a heartbreaker for me.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I knew I'm not done getting high. I'm not going to, I'm never going to get off parole. And I realized, like, best case scenario, I'm going to die in a prison riot someday. And then at least my mom gets notified that I'm dead, right? Or worst case scenario, I'm going to die in some alley in Santa Ana where I've overdosed and I'm all alone and nobody even knows, right? So I get released. I go show up to parole on Monday morning. I'm wearing like some Billabong shorts and a tank top that I stolen out of a donation bin. I'm riding a stolen bike that I got. I'm fucking sunburnt because we weren't getting out much when I was there, and now I'm homeless, so I'm like out all the time and in the sun. And I show up just sunburnt, raggedy, and I see my parole officer, and he asked me if I have a drug problem, and I tell him I do.
What gave it away?
Yeah. What was your first clue? And he, I'm like, they had told me that I could get parole funding for a program. So I'm like, there's a few things that I wanted to talk to you about. Number one, I need to get my $200 gate money because they didn't give it to me because I was being transferred to Orange County. They told me talk to your parole officer when you get out. I talked to my parole officer when I get out, and he was like, I'll check on it for you. Fast forward 4.5 years, Agent Bedore, I was still like that gate money. Never got that.
You owe me $200.
I was like, and I would also like to find out about the parole funding for treatment centers.
Yeah.
I don't have anywhere to go. I think I want to give this thing a try. And he tells me that because I was released to the custody of Orange County Sheriff's Office and then subsequently released from jail, I didn't parole from prison. So that somehow that was like a technicality that made me not eligible for the stop funding or whatever it is, the parole funding. I wasn't eligible for it because I was released from the custody of Orange County.
They always come up with some
bullshit. So, but he was like, the good news for you, Mr. Chapman, is the funding that is available to you has been used up for the fiscal year that we're in now. He's like, but the good news is in July, the new fiscal year starts over and funding will be available for you to go to treatment at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember looking at him and I was like, yo, you realize it's fucking March right now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm 115 pounds, living under a bridge, and you're telling me just to hang on until July. That's a fucking eternity.
Yeah.
The girl went to prison too. She got released and got released to this women's program in San Francisco. And I've been in touch with her. She's wanted me to come see her. I'm running around getting high down here for like a month. My PO's having me check in every week, and he's trying to drug test me, and I'm just straight up telling him like, yo, don't even waste the cup. I'm dirty. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I'm talking to the girl. She convinces me to come see her in San Francisco. So I hit a scratcher. I win like $500 on this fucking scratcher one night, and for some reason, instead of like taking the money to go get high, like I called her and I told her I won, and she's like, well, Western Union me the money. And so I was like, all right. She's like, I want all the money. And I was like, okay. So I cashed the scratcher, and then I go get a Western Union, and I call her. I'm like, yo, I sent you $400 because I need $100 to live on, right, for the week. And she was like, okay. She bought me a bus ticket up to San Francisco. And I get high all week. I almost I ran out of dope the day I was supposed to leave, and ended up passing out on the side of the road somewhere, like in a park, and almost missed my bus up there to see her. Convinced some stranger at a gas station in Santa Ana to give me a ride to the Greyhound station at like midnight, so I wouldn't miss my bus.
We got on that bus with no dope.
Yeah, got on the bus with no dope. Hadn't got high in like 8 hours. It's like a fucking 12-hour bus ride from here to San Francisco. I got on the bus at like midnight. I showed up to San Francisco at like 10 o'clock the next morning. Kicking. And she meets me at the fucking bus station. She's rented me a hotel room in San Francisco with the money. She also got me the bus ticket up there, and it was a round trip and a ticket back. And like, God bless that girl, dude, because you know I'd been getting high. I was on the streets. I probably hadn't showered in 3 or 4 days. You know what I'm saying? And she sees me, fucking, and she gives me this big old hug. Like, she's so excited to see me, doesn't make one single comment to me about the way I look or the way I smell. She takes me to the hotel room, and I go to get in the shower, and like I pull my shoes off, and I pull my socks off, and like my feet smelled so bad that like I can smell them. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you've been there, you know what I'm talking about. And like she poked her head in the bathroom and like grabbed up my clothes to go wash them, and like she leaned in and gave me a little kiss, and like didn't make a weird face about the smell, or like she was just a trooper, dude.
A real one.
Yeah. And so like we spent the day together, and then she had to go back to her rehab, and that was a Saturday. So I stayed in the hotel room that night. I checked out. She gave me the rest of the money that I had left. So once she went back to her rehab, I went out about in the city, and I did what I do, and I found some dope, you know, and got high in the hotel room. The next morning I check out. I go, there was a little beach by where she was at, up there in the bay. And I go meet her at the beach that afternoon, and I write her this long letter when I'm waiting on her to get there, basically telling, I know this is the last time I'm going to see this girl.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not coming back to San Francisco.
Yeah.
I'm going to go down back to Orange County, and I'm going to get fucking lost in the streets of the System 1, you know? And so I give her this letter, and I tell her, like, you can't read it until I leave. And so we spend a couple hours together, and then I'm getting ready to go catch my bus. And she opens the letter and reads it anyways. And she starts crying. She thought it was like a fucking suicide letter.
Yeah.
You know? And I was just like, you know, you're doing good. I want you to keep doing good. And like, I'm gonna go, and don't try and find me. And she's like, there's this dude that works at my place that went through this program up here for men that's free, and if he can get you into it, will you go? And I was like, sure. If this dude can get me into it, I'll go. I was like, but you got 2 days. So I slept on the streets in San Francisco for 2 days. Again, having been homeless in Orange County for 2 years, I thought I was a professional homeless person. It is very different being homeless in San Francisco. It's fucking cold up there, and it's just different, dude. Like, I can't describe. It's just fucking different. And
I heard it's easier to find drugs on the street though.
oh, drugs are everywhere up there, everywhere. And it's like San Francisco's so compact.
Yeah.
That, like, the city's 7 miles by 7 miles, you know, so anything's never like, it's not all spread out like down here. So I meet with this guy, or I talk to this guy on the phone on Tuesday, which was the second day. This was his time. I talked to him on the phone. He was like, I work at this detox center. It's free. It's a first come, first served basis. You have to be here at 8 a.m. tomorrow morning in order to get a bed. And if you're not first in line, I can't guarantee you a bed. If you are first in line, you'll get a bed. I'm like, yo, I don't know if I can get there by 8. Like, I don't know what time people are going to start getting there. Like, I don't know my way around this city.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what buses to take. What if they're running late? He was like, well, you could always sleep in the doorway.
Yeah.
So, April was able to get out of her rehab that night for something. She was going to, like, a meeting or something. And she took me to and showed me where this rehab was. So I went there that night, and I literally slept in the doorway so that when the people came in the morning to, like, come into work, they had to wake me up and move me so that they could unlock the door and go in.
Yeah.
And that's how I was able to get into treatment or get into detox. And it was a 3-day non-medical detox up in the Haight-Ashbury district. It's this old house or building that used to be like a fucking mental hospital or some shit. It's like 100 years old, hot as fuck. They put you in there, they give you a bed, they feed you 3 times a day, and you can't leave. And I spent 3 days in that bed. I just didn't move. I just slept. I came outside a couple times to smoke a cigarette, and he told me the address of the place that I was going, and the morning when I was released, they said, your detox is done, you can go. And I knew enough about where I was at and enough about the city. I walked